Today we will be discussing directions for research in language learning. First of all, we will be looking at research within applied linguistics. In order to understand what kind of research that has been conducted and still going on in the area of applied linguistics, first of all, we have to understand what we mean by applied linguistics. According to Davies and Elder, applied linguistics deals with determining social problems involving language. So social problems, that means the problems which are related to language in any social setting. Then it consists of so many areas. The domain is very vast. For example, that it includes how to teach languages more effectively, enhance the training of translators and interpreters. So when we are talking about how to teach, then we are referring to teaching methodologies. When we are talking about the assessment of translators and interpreters, there we are referring to the training. Diagnose speech pathologies more effectively, how that speech or the effects of speech play important role. Evaluate a bilingual program. It is very important, since applied linguistics deals with not only learning or acquisition of one language. Definitely bilingualism plays a very important role, where multiple languages and people who speak those languages are crucial in the development of any research. Set a valid language test to determine the proficiencies in those particular language or languages. Help discuss the language used in a text. That text discourse comes in, and decide on the literacy level of a population study, as well as compare and contrast the acquisition of different languages. So literacy level, that how certain languages are enabling their speakers to achieve that required level of proficiency. So when we look at these areas, it almost covers all the social problems that are related to language production or any language expression. Now we will look at different definitions given by these researchers. They have defined applied linguistics in their own particular understanding. Greb sees applied linguistics as a practice-driven discipline that addresses language-based problem in a real-world context. So basically, the practical implications or the practical usage of the language. So this is practice discipline. Schmidt and Celsi-Murcia says that applied linguistics is using what we know about language, how it is learned and how it is used. So basically the practical aspect of language in terms of how it is learned, the process of learning and the process of its usage in order to achieve the purpose or solve some problems in the real world. Then applied linguistics covers 18 topic areas as minimum. So these are the minimum areas. I mean, applied linguistics is not restricted to these, but these are the very common and important areas. Language and its acquisition, language and culture, language and cognition, language and brain, media, assessment, interaction, ideology, listening, instruction, reading, policy, writing, speaking, society, research methodology, technology, and translation interpretation. So these are basically the broad areas, although there are sub-areas related to these broader areas as well. Grant explains that research in applied linguistics is a process of arriving at answer to questions situated in current understanding, employed a methodologically rigorous way. So basically, applied linguistics is a process where one drives at certain answers to questions relating to the understanding of the vast domain of linguistic areas, and how one is arriving at those answers is by following methodologically rigorous way, the experimentation, the empirical studies, and based on that you drive at some conclusion and answers to the understanding of applied linguistics research. 5 main characteristics of research within applied linguistics according to LMA is empirical, that is experimentation, logical, facts-based, reductive, that how the content or information is provided in a simplified manner, planned and imaginative. So the applied linguistics research comprises of logic, experimentation, simplification, planning, and imaginative, according to one study. McDonough sums up research in 4 features, and according to them, interest is very important part, that how interest of certain researchers in a one particular area determines the validity or the authenticity of any research. Originality of work in that area, specificity, that specific addressing of specific topics and specific questions, and then dissemination of both research question and finding, then spreading out those research queries and the findings which were achieved based on those questionings. Noonan says that research in applied linguistics is concerned with inquiry, product, and process. Inquiry is about asking questions, and then those questions should be addressed through certain process, and that process should lead that inquiry into a certain conclusion or a certain product. So researcher needs to keep in mind set of questions to be used as guide whilst conducting her research. So certain questions, the very rationale of the research, then how those rationale or objectives can be achieved, what process or design or data collection can be followed, and how to come up with the reliable and valid findings based on that. So basically, process, product, as well as inquiry, 3 parameters are proposed by Noonan. With this, we have now the design types used in applied linguistic research and the data collection. So let's see the design types. Grants differentiates between experimental and descriptive, perception and reality, process and product, quality and cost. So these are 2-3 types of designs proposed by Grant, where experimental and then the descriptive, one's perception and how things are logical or reality based, the kind of process which leads to the product, and qualitative, which is survey based or interview based, and quantitative, which is basically numerical collection of or following of the process. Brown presents 2 major paradigms, pure and mixed. He thinks that either you follow one particular pure aspect of design, or you can have a mixture or mixed method design to come up with certain findings of a research. Donne refers to 2 types of research, library or empirical. Library is mostly the information or sources available, or empirical is when you are actually testing or following some experimentation. Now Noonan and Duff differentiate between, again, quantitative and qualitative, and Hash and Farhadi propose one of 5 measures of design, either pre-experimental design, true experimental, quasi-experimental, ex post facto design, or factual. So there are a number of 5 designs. Either you follow all of them, but according to these researchers, you can have, or you can come up with any one out of these 5. Coming to data collection, qualitatively you have case studies, observations, diaries, sample studies, introspection, questionnaires. These are basically the qualitative data collection. Wayne and Robert defines again the descriptive, exploratory, and discovery oriented. Bloomer again proposes the qualitative, which comprises of questionnaire. Noonan classifies questionnaire further and says you can have open-ended questionnaire which is conducted in focus group, and then closed-ended can lead to the collecting of numerical data. Carden and Richard propose interviews, structured or unstructured, or any interviewer certainly needs to maintain relationship of trust and respect in the interview. So mostly you see that data collection is qualitative, where research requires empirical data. When we are empirically testing something, we rely more on the qualitative data collection. To conclude, applied linguistics is mainly concerned with the meaningful application of researchers' proposed solution to existing problems related to language use. Research within the field of applied linguistics is primarily to enhance our understanding to related issues by generating knowledge effectively. Our claims should be supported by detailed exploration, investigation, experimentation, and examination.